They told me not to come. Said it would be easier for everyone if I just stayed away. It was my mother's 60th birthday. A milestone, a gathering of cousins and church friends, held at the nicest restaurant in town. Everyone was invited. Everyone except me. There was no fight, no incident, no scandal. Just a message from my father that read, "Let's not make this about you." I didn't reply. I didn't argue. I booked my flight. You see, I've learned that silence isn't always peace. Sometimes it's just a placeholder for a truth people are afraid to face. My name is Sabrina Hale. I'm 31 years old. I co-founded a logistics AI company that's quietly revolutionizing how goods move across America. I don't code anymore, but I lead our operations, manage a team of 70, and close deals that reshape supply chains. On paper, I'm what you'd call successful. In my family, I'm still the disappointment. They think I ran away from home to chase some tech fantasy. They don't know I've built something real, something respected. They don't know a lot of things. But they were about to. Because what none of them expected, least of all my father, was that someone at that birthday party would recognize me. And not just recognize me, but stand up and say 7 words that would change everything. She's not just here, she's my boss. And that was the moment the story really began. I left Halbert, Ohio, when I was 21. Just one suitcase, one halfway finished degree, and a bank account that could barely cover a bus ticket. My father said I'd be back in 6 months, maybe less. I think he even bet my uncle $50 on it. Instead, I moved into a shared apartment in Seattle with 2 other women and more cockroaches than furniture. I worked night shifts at a warehouse and spent every free hour buried in supply chain data and open-source AI code. It was messy. It was exhausting. It was mine. I didn't call home much. Every time I did, the conversation ended the same way. "You should think about moving back. We know someone at the high school. They're looking for a substitute math teacher." But I didn't want predictable. I didn't want safe. I wanted to build something that mattered. And 10 years later, I did. My company, StrataRoute, optimizes freight logistics using real-time machine learning. We reduce deadhead miles, lower carbon emissions, and save clients millions. It's not flashy work, but it's foundational. I serve as COO, and while I leave the coding to our engineers now, I'm the one who ensures our systems scale, our partners stay happy, and our team stays aligned. We're headquartered in Seattle, operate across 7 states, and recently closed a $22 million Series B round. Our workforce is diverse, smart, and fiercely loyal. Not because I demand it, but because I show up for them every single day. But none of that impresses my father. To him, success still means Sunday potlucks and a husband with a stable job. My younger sister, Clarissa, did everything right in his eyes. She married young, has 2 kids, and works part-time at a local credit union. They live just 6 blocks from our parents' house. She hosts Thanksgiving, goes to the same church we grew up in, and posts annual family portraits in matching flannel. She's the blueprint. I'm the outlier. And over time, that gap between who I am and who they wanted me to be stopped feeling like a misunderstanding and started feeling like exile. There were no outright rejections, just quiet omissions. No direct insults, just family group texts I was left out of. I got used to it. At some point, I stopped expecting them to see me. I poured everything into my work instead. My team became my people. My board meetings became my proving ground. But no matter how far I rose, one thing never changed. I was still the daughter who left, the girl who said no to the life they'd drawn for her. That's why the text from my father didn't surprise me. It wasn't the first time I'd been sidelined. It was just the most explicit. And part of me, the part that had spent years carving her own path, read that message not as a warning, but as a challenge. Not to crash the party, not to prove anything, but to remind myself that I didn't need permission to exist where I belonged. I wasn't coming back to make a scene. I was coming back to be seen. The official invitation never came. Not from my parents, not even from Clarissa. I found out about the party through a forwarded email thread that had clearly made the rounds. Clarissa sent it with a casual note. "Did you get this too? Dad might have used his church account, LOL. I scrolled through the CC list. Uncles, aunts, retired neighbors, Even my old piano teacher. Everyone. Except me. I called my father. No answer. So I texted him directly. Just saw the thread. Can I RSVP? I'd like to be there. 2 hours later, he replied, Sabrina, it's best you sit this one out. Let's not make this about you. I stared at the screen. Let's not make this about you. That sentence rang louder than any slammed door. He still saw me as the problem, not the daughter who built a company from scratch, but the one who made things complicated by refusing to play along. I didn't respond. What was there to say? Instead, I poured myself into work. I had onboarding that Monday for 5 new hires. One of them was a junior analyst named Liam Brooks. The name tugged at me, but I didn't connect the dots until the morning of. Our office manager flagged him as early and waiting in the lobby, and when I walked past the glass doors, there he was, tall, nervous, wearing a button-down shirt that didn't quite fit, and clutching a company-issued laptop bag like a lifeline. Liam, Clarissa's boyfriend. He didn't recognize me at first. My hair was pinned back, my badge still on from the AI Logistics Summit I'd spoken at the day before. I was in heels and a tailored blazer, not the sweatshirt he might have seen on a family Zoom call. I stepped into the orientation room, greeted the team, and clicked through the first slide. Welcome to Strata Root. I'm Sabrina Hale, co-founder and COO. That's when he looked up. His eyes met mine. A flicker of realization, then shock, then something else, maybe dread. To his credit, he composed himself quickly, took notes, stayed quiet. But I saw it. After the session, as the others filed out, he lingered behind. Miss Hale. Just Sabrina, I said. Unless you plan to crash birthday parties, in which case I might require something more formal. He blinked, then smiled, nervous but trying. I had no idea. Clarissa never said. I held his gaze. She doesn't know, not really. He shifted his weight. Is it weird, me working here? Only if you make it weird. He exhaled like I'd granted him a pardon. I really wanted this job. You're doing amazing things. We are, I said. And if you're here to help build, not gossip, we'll get along just fine. He nodded. Definitely. And just like that, the line between family and business blurred, but not in the way anyone expected. In the weeks that followed, I barely saw Liam. He was working under Priya, one of our sharpest division leads. Her updates were short but confident. Smart, observant, a little hesitant. He'll catch up just fine. He kept his head down, always polite, always on time, always quieter than the others. He avoided eye contact in meetings, but never missed a deadline. It wasn't fear, it was calculation. He was still trying to reconcile the sister he thought he knew with the boss now standing in front of him. And honestly, I understood. That kind of shift takes time, especially when your family has painted someone in grayscale for years without ever seeing the color. Then on Thursday, Clarissa posted a photo. Mom under a balloon banner at church. Can't wait to celebrate our amazing mom's 60th this Saturday. Family is everything. No tags, no mention of me. Just comments from people who used to send me birthday cards and now pretended I didn't exist. Smiling emojis, inside jokes, and promises to bring pie. A celebration of exclusion, wrapped in nostalgia. I closed the tab and quietly booked my flight. Friday, during our leadership sync, we flagged an issue in one of our rerouting models. The system underperformed in high-density areas. A 2% drop in predictive accuracy may sound small, but to us, it meant tens of thousands in daily losses. Mid-discussion, I turned to Liam. You ran the base model test, right? He blinked, but held steady. Yes, the decay rate jumped in school zones. I think it's due to irregular stop-and-go traffic. A weighted adjustment might fix it. I nodded. Work with Priya. Get me a draft Tuesday. He nodded back, sitting taller than before. Not just responding, participating, earning his space. Later that afternoon, he found me by the kitchen counter, refilling his water bottle. Clarissa didn't tell me much, he said. Not about the company, not about you. I stirred my tea. People leave out what they can't explain. She said you always had to be the center of everything, he admitted. But I'm starting to think maybe you just refuse to shrink. I raised an eyebrow. When people can't control your path, they rewrite the story to fit their limits. It makes them feel safer. That way they don't have to examine their own limitations. He looked down. Yeah, that actually makes sense. That was enough. Saturday came. I arrived at Delaney's a bit late. The hostess frowned at the guest list, then waved me toward the back. The private room was full. Laughter, clinking glasses, comfort. Mom at the center, radiant. Dad beside her, loud as always. Clarissa glowing. Liam quiet, near the end. The room hushed when they noticed me. Dad leaned back in his chair. Well, he said, look who showed up after all. I said nothing, walked to Mom, handed her an envelope. Happy birthday. She opened it carefully. Inside, 2 first-class tickets to Vienna. Her dream. One she thought I forgot. One she thought no one remembered. Her hand went to her chest. Sabrina! Dad chuckled, dismissive. Always making it about yourself. Then Liam stood. She didn't make it about herself. All eyes turned. She gave your wife the most thoughtful gift I've ever seen. And in case anyone here doesn't know, this is Sabrina Hale, co-founder and COO of Strataroute. He paused, voice steady. She's not just here, she's my boss. The room froze. Clarissa's fork clattered. My father shifted, but said nothing. I turned back to Mom. I won't stay long. Just wanted to see you smile. She reached for my hand. I let her take it. Then I walked out. No argument, no drama, no grand speech, just one undeniable moment. And for once, not a soul in the room could look away. I didn't expect anything after that night. No calls, no apologies, just the usual silence, stretched a little thinner. But the next morning, as I was packing to check out of my hotel, my phone buzzed. Mom. Her message was simple. Sabrina, can I see you? Just us. I sent her the address. An hour later, she knocked on my door holding a plastic container of lemon bars, the ones she used to bake every Friday when I was a kid. She stepped inside slowly, eyes scanning the room like she was taking in a stranger's life. You always liked clean spaces, she said quietly. And you always liked sugar, I replied with a faint smile. She laughed, then sat down, carefully placing the lemon bars between us. I didn't know about Vienna, or the company, or any of it. No one told me. I looked at her. Did you ask? She hesitated. We were afraid to. Afraid you'd changed too much. I did, I said. That doesn't mean I disappeared. There was a long pause before she spoke again. We didn't make room for you to grow. We just tried to keep you close in a version we understood. And when you outgrew that version, we didn't know what to do. I didn't say anything. I'm sorry, she whispered. I nodded. I know. She looked around again. Can I visit you sometime? In Seattle? Yes, I said. You can. We didn't talk about my father. We didn't need to. When she left, she stood in the doorway for a long time, then turned back. He's not as cold as he pretends. He just doesn't know how to say he's wrong. I didn't respond, because sometimes silence is grace, and grace doesn't need to be loud. A few days later, I was back in the office, reviewing performance dashboards, when Clarissa called. I almost didn't answer. Hi, she said, voice tight. I don't know why I'm calling. Or maybe I do. I waited. Liam? He couldn't stop talking about you after the party, about how you handled things, how calm you were, how respected. I said nothing. I think I hated you for a long time, because if you were strong, and I resented you, that meant I was weak, and I didn't want to feel that. You're not weak, Clarissa. You're just still finding your shape. We all are. She sniffled. I'm sorry I never asked about your life. I think I didn't want to know. It's okay. No, it's not. But maybe we can start over. You're welcome anytime. Before hanging up, she added, I'm proud of you, Sabrina. Not just for the company, for being who you are, and never making me feel smaller for not being the same. That, more than anything, was the closure I never thought I'd get. The envelope was waiting for me when I checked out of the hotel. No return address. Just my name written in familiar blocky handwriting. Inside was a single sheet of lined paper. Sabrina, you turned out different than I imagined. Maybe better. I don't know how to apologize for all the ways I dismissed you. Maybe I don't deserve to, but your mother says you're building something real, and I believe her. You always had that stubbornness. I mistook it for rebellion. Turns out, it was vision. Dad, no warmth, no flourish, but no denial either. And that was enough. 5 years later, when Mom turned 65, we hosted the party at my house. The patio was lit with string lights. My chef prepared her favorite crab cakes. Liam brought a slideshow of old family photos. Clarissa brought the cake. My father came too. He sat quietly most of the evening, watching from the corner with tired eyes and folded hands. Then, as the guests drifted inside, he approached me on the deck. "You built something," he said. "Something real." I didn't respond. He pulled something from his jacket, a photo, worn, faded. Me at age 10, building a company out of shoeboxes and index cards in the garage. On the back, in his handwriting, "Turns out you always knew." I didn't cry. I didn't speak. I just hugged him, not as a daughter still needing permission, but as a woman who no longer did. Inside, laughter rang through my living room. Wine glasses clinked. And for the first time, everyone was there. Not because I begged them to come, but because I'd built a life strong enough for them to return to. I kept the photo. Framed it, actually. It sits on a shelf in my home office now, right next to another frame, smaller but no less meaningful. A yellow sticky note someone on my team saved from that night at Delaney's. Liam had scribbled it after the party, left it on the break room fridge the next day. "She's my boss." Simple. Direct. 7 words that didn't just tilt the room that night. They tilted something in me too. Because for so long, I'd measured my worth by absence. By who didn't call, who didn't notice, who didn't ask. I thought proving myself meant waiting for their approval to finally come. It never did. And then it didn't matter. Because somewhere between missed birthdays and sleepless board meetings, I stopped trying to be understood and started building a life that didn't require explaining. I stopped performing for a seat at their table and built my own. And that changed everything, not all at once. There were no cinematic moments of transformation, just small shifts. A quiet mother at my kitchen counter finally asking questions. A sister daring to see me clearly. A father who, after years of silence, handed me proof that he'd been watching, even when he couldn't say the words. That's how healing works. Not always loudly, not always neatly, but honestly. I didn't reclaim my place in the family by arguing my value. I reclaimed it by becoming undeniable. And I didn't get revenge by being cruel. I got it by standing in my truth long enough for them to catch up. 5 years after that forgotten invitation, my home became the gathering place. Not because I insisted, but because it was a space that welcomed people back without asking them to pretend. That's the legacy I'm proud of, not the job title, not the valuation of my company, but the fact that I stood still when the world told me to move. And in doing so, I became a landmark they could find their way back to. So if you're listening to this, and you've ever been made to feel like your success doesn't count, because it doesn't look like someone else's blueprint, if you've ever been written off, cut out, or quietly erased, let me remind you of this. You don't have to shout to be heard. You don't need permission to be powerful. And sometimes, the most radical thing you can do is grow so fully into yourself that the people who tried to minimize you end up needing to expand just to meet your gaze again. Build so well they can't look away.